Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. We are often told that advanced civilizations will be elegant. We imagine sleek, silver saucers, silent engines, and ships that look like works of art gliding through the cosmos. But anyone who has ever worked in a factory or a tank division knows the truth. Reliability is rarely pretty. Survival is ugly. And if a machine is designed to kill, it doesn't need to look good on a poster. It just needs to work. Today's story takes place at the Galactic Grand Review, a prestigious event where empires show off their naval power. The aliens brought poetry made of glass and light. Humanity brought a brick. A very angry, very heavy brick. What happens when aesthetics go to war with brutalist engineering? Let's find out. If you prefer a rusty truck that starts every time over a Ferrari that breaks down in the rain, smash that like button. And if you want to see the moment the galaxy learned to fear the color matte gray, subscribe and turn on notifications. Shields up. It's about to get ugly. The Great Nebula of Tython was the most beautiful backdrop in the galaxy, which is why the High Elves of the Cygnus Concordat chose it for the Grand Review. Every 10 cycles, the great powers of the galaxy gathered to display their flagships. It was a parade of vanity. The ships were judged not just on firepower, but on symmetry, grace, and the color of their engine plumes. High Admiral Valerius stood on the crystalline bridge of the Star Dancer. His ship was a masterpiece. It was shaped like a teardrop of spun gold, with solar sails that caught the nebula's light and refracted it into rainbows. It had no visible weapons because weapons were hidden behind sliding panels of mother of pearl. It hummed with a sound like a choir of angels. Perfection, Valerius whispered, adjusting his silk sash. Look at the formation. The geometric harmony. Beside him, the ambassador of the aquatic kingdom nodded, his gills fluttering. Indeed. The aesthetics of this cycle are superior. War should be a dance, should it not? Precisely, Valerius agreed. If one must destroy, one should do it with style. Then the proximity sensors wailed. It wasn't a harmonious chime, it was a discordant screech indicating a massive displacement of mass. A new arrival? Valerius asked, annoyed. Who is late to the review? It is the new species, the sensor officer sniffed disdainfully. The humans from Sol 3. They were invited as a courtesy. Space tore open. Usually, ships exited warp with a flash of white light. The human ship didn't flash. It ripped its way into real space with a sound that vibrated through the hulls of the nearby vessels. A grinding, tearing noise like metal dragging on concrete. And then it appeared. A silence fell over the galactic comms channel. A silence born of pure, unadulterated horror. The human flagship, the UNS Sledgehammer, was not a teardrop. It was not a saucer. It was a brick. It was a rectangular block of dark, matte gray duranium, 2 kilometers long and 1 kilometer high. It had no curves. No solar sails. No glowing lights. Instead, it was covered in scars. Patches of welded metal where armor had been replaced. Massive, ugly engine thrusters protruded from the back like open wounds, spewing dirty ion exhaust that polluted the pristine nebula. And the guns. The ship was covered in pimples of steel. Hundreds of kinetic railgun turrets, missile pods and point defense cannons that tracked movement with jerky, mechanical twitches. By the stars, Valerius gasped, covering his eyes. It is hideous. It looks like a flying refinery. It looks like garbage. The human ship hailed the fleet. The image on the main screen was not a high-definition hologram. It was a grainy 2D video feed. Captain Iron Mike Holloway appeared. He was unshaven, wearing a coffee-stained uniform cap, and looked like he hadn't slept in a week. UNS Sledgehammer reporting for the parade, Holloway grunted. Sorry we're late. Had to kick the hyperdrive. Where do you want us to park? Valerius stepped forward, his face twisted in disgust. Human captain, he broadcasted to the entire fleet. You cannot park that monstrosity alongside the Star Dancer. You are ruining the composition. You look like a fungal infection on the face of the galaxy. Holloway blinked. He looked off camera. Did the elf just call us a fungus? I believe so, sir, a voice replied in the background. Holloway looked back at the screen. Look, buddy, she ain't pretty, but she's got it where it counts. This is a warship, not a chandelier. Warship. Valerius laughed. The entire alien fleet joined in, a chorus of mocking trills and beeps. That is not a warship. That is a target. Look at your exposed heat sinks. Look at your non-aerodynamic profile. You have no elegance. No soul. In a real battle, my Star Dancer would dissect you before you could even rotate that clumsy brick. Holloway's eyes narrowed. He took a sip from a mug that said, Number 1 Dad. Is that a challenge? Holloway asked softly. It is a lesson, Valerius declared. We shall conduct a live-fire exercise to demonstrate the superiority of high design over primitive brutalism. Raise your shields, human. If you have any. The Star Dancer detached from the formation. It moved with fluid grace, its engines silent. It targeted the sledgehammer. Charging particle lances, Valerius announced. Targeting your port bow. We will carve a pattern of flowers into your hull. Captain, the human tactical officer said. They are locking on. Holloway sighed. All right. Power up the main deflector. And spin up the PDCs. Let's show them why we don't paint our ships. The Star Dancer fired. 3 beams of pure, golden light arched across the void. They were beautiful. They hit the sledgehammer. The human ship didn't even shake. The beams splashed against the void shields, a layer of energy so dense it appeared black. The golden light was absorbed instantly. Direct hit, Valerius said, frowning. Why did it not cut? Their shield density is illogical, his officer reported. They are pumping 90% of their reactor output into a wall of force. It is crude but unbreakable. My turn, Holloway said. Wait, Valerius said. We are not finished calculating the firing main battery 1, Holloway interrupted. The sledgehammer didn't fire a laser. It didn't fire a beam. It fired metal. Thud 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 thud. The vibration of the railguns firing could be felt in the teeth of everyone in the sector. 6 massive tungsten slugs, each the size of a bus, were accelerated to 0.1% the speed of light. They didn't glow. They didn't make a sound. They were just invisible hammers of God. The Star Dancer's AI screamed a warning. The golden ship tried to dodge. It was fast, agile. It pirouetted like a dancer. But you cannot dodge a saturation bombardment. One of the slugs clipped the solar sail. Crunch. The delicate, glass-like material shattered into a million glittering shards. The Star Dancer spun wildly, its perfect symmetry ruined. Another slug hit the starboard engine nacelle. It didn't melt the armor. It smashed it. The force of the impact crumpled the golden alloy like tin foil. The entire side of the beautiful ship caved in. Cease fire. Valerius screamed, holding onto his console as sparks rained down. We yield. You have made your point. The sledgehammer stopped firing instantly. The barrels of its guns were glowing cherry red, the only color on the ship. Holloway appeared on the screen again. He looked bored. You see, Admiral, Holloway said, leaning back in his chair. You built a ship to look like a bird. You made it light. You made it hollow. You put the engines on the outside so they'd look pretty. Holloway pointed a thumb over his shoulder at his own bridge. We built a ship to take a punch. We buried the engines deep inside a mile of armor. We didn't care about aerodynamics because there's no air in space. We built a brick. Because if you throw a brick at a swan, the brick wins every time. Valerius looked at his ruined ship. The gold was twisted. The lights were flickering. It looked ugly now. Broken. He looked at the human ship. It looked exactly the same as it did before the battle. Ugly. Gray. Indestructible. Form follows function, Valerius whispered, a realization dawning on him. We forgot the function of a warship. Which is, his officer asked. To kill things and not die, Valerius replied. The sledgehammer engaged its thrusters. Dirty, black smoke poured out, staining the nebula. All right, show's over, Holloway said. We're gonna go find a gas station. You guys enjoy your parade. The brick accelerated. It lacked grace. It lacked beauty. It moved with the stubborn inevitability of a glacier. And as it left, every single ship in the Grand Review, the delicate saucers, the glass needles, the solar yachts, moved aside. They made a wide path. They didn't want to scratch their paint on the brick. From that day on, the aesthetic of the Galactic Navy changed. Curves were out. Angles were in. Gold was replaced by gunmetal gray. The aliens learned to appreciate the human aesthetic. They called it the beauty of the blunt instrument. And they never laughed at the sledgehammer again. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. We live in a world obsessed with design. But when the chips are down, sometimes the best tool for the job is just a heavy rock. If you would rather pilot the brick than the swan, smash that like button. Comment below. Does a spaceship need to look cool or just be dangerous? Subscribe for more stories about humanity ruining the neighborhood with our ugly toys. Transmission ended.